the RPG Make a General podcast, or the rpgmg. Once upon a time, there was a man who died. And that's it. How riveting! Welcome to the RPG Maker General podcast, or the RPGMGP, your one-stop shop for everything RPG Maker. This is Cody, aka Marpix, and with me today are Blue Sky Robin.
Yo, it's me.
And the Red Mage.
Good morning. Which, it's past noon for me, but whatever. Good morning.
It's not... Fuck time zones, man. Come on. Seriously.
Yeah, it's 9 a.m. here. I could watch some Saturday morning cartoons if they still existed.
Yeah, it's 1 a.m. here. I could watch other things on TV if I cared about TV.
You can see that new infomercial for the Slap Chopper or whatever.
Hell yeah.
God. Alright, so big news announced just a couple days ago. Steam Greenlight is dead. Long live Steam Greenlight. Valve has announced that Steam Greenlight will be going away this spring to make room for a new feature called Steam Direct. The reason they're doing this, I believe it's a quality control issue, because instead of paying $100 for a license to upload as many games as you want and get them voted on, you will now pay between $200 and $5,000 per game you wish to upload. The big reason that Valve has been saying is that for a game maker, it's very hard to decide when to talk to the media and when to start building hype for your game if you don't know exactly when the hell it's coming out. So I see why they're doing it, but I also don't see why it needs to be so goddamn expensive.
Well, because they can realize they can make a lot of fucking money off of it, and people are still going to do it because Steam is still the best platform for indie games, aside from maybe itch.io.
I was looking into the price point a little bit, and some people are saying it's like to get rid of those developers that put out shit.
You mean
they're raising the price. Like they're raising the price so that people are less likely to just throw shit into the store, I guess.
I get that, but, even they're struggling with, let's say there's a poor dude who made a great game. How's he supposed to find $5,000 on the ground so he can get his game on Steam?
Right.
Well, how are they going to, determine what the price is to put it on the green light, though? Or
yeah, that's the thing.
Not green light.
Yeah,
you can't know going into it, because, again, we didn't talk about it last week, so I'm very proud of us, but I have to spoil that already this week. If you looked at Undertale, for example, that is not a high production value game as far as the visuals go, at least. So I can't really expect it to be, this game, 5,000, for sure. So I just don't know how Steam is going to be this game is going to be such and such. Or if it's your first game is 200, your next game is 500, your next game is 1,000. Yeah. I don't really know how they plan to do that. That's the only thing that I'm really concerned about, because when I was reading the article too, it looked like rather than having to go and vote and hope that people like your game enough that it actually gets on Steam, you pay the price, you're on Steam. That's the end of it. Yep.
That's why they were talking about, if you want to talk to journalists and get some buzz about your game, you know exactly when it's going on, and that's super useful. But, what the heck was I going to say? I do like your theory on the more games you put up, the more expensive it gets. The first game is $200. Okay, cool. But then what's to say that someone doesn't make multiple Steam accounts or multiple, contact sources, and is hey, this is my brand new Steam account, and I'm going to give you my brand new game.
Right, exactly. I'm very curious to see how they're going to try and regulate this, because I'm on a team right now making something with 4 people, so we could all theoretically just make an account. We could upload four separate games. Unless you have to make a dev account. I don't really know how that process works. I've never actually gotten to look at that part of it, so I'm not sure. But no, I'm just very curious to see how the pricing model goes. Is all.
Yeah.
I feel this is an important inflection point, because itch.io has seemingly come out of nowhere as a place to upload games. It's kind of like Discord. One day it just showed up and everybody's using it.
Yeah.
So what's the deal with itch.io? Because it could easily take over.
It's mostly just an indie game. Well, mostly an indie game market. You still see actual studios putting games on there, but it's still kind of the same thing. It's web-based. You upload games. There's some really bad games on itch.io. They seem to have a lot less quality control than Steam does, but at the same time, it's another platform, another outlet. There's a lot of free games on there too, which is neat.
So it's basically like current age Newgrounds or something.
I mean, kinda. You still download the games and everything, but like you don't have to download like a whole client for it to have it. I don't use itch.io a whole lot. A friend of mine does. From what he was saying and just explaining to us, it's pretty much just Steam Lite almost. There's not a whole lot to it, but it's still basically you upload games. They get a cut of the profits. I don't know exactly what the cut is, just like Steam does, and then people get to play your game. That's kind of the end of it.
Right.
I think having human curators is going to be very, very important in the future, because Steam has like their curator program, but they don't give a shit really. They don't promote it and all that stuff. And you have the two different approaches with like itch.io and Newgrounds, where anyone can upload anything, and people have to wade through the crap themselves. Or you have Steam's brand new approach, which is, are you a bad enough dude to bet $5,000 on your game success? like, I don't care if you're Kim.com. That takes some brass balls.
Yeah, for real.
God.
So yeah, I don't know. I'm very curious to see what's going to come of this, because right now there's pretty just kind of scattered and unfounded information. So
Yeah.
it's still important for us devs to pay attention to.
Greenlight is still open right now. Lord knows what's going to happen in the spring. But if you only want to pay $100, you better throw that shit up quick.
That's true.
Yeah. All right. So, off of that, over to Yanfly, because we got to cover Yanfly every time. So there's two cool things that he did recently that I wanted to talk about. The first one is Let's Make a Database, which is a new comic in the same vein as Let's Make a Game. He tries to streamline the development process so that you're not building skills and weapons completely from scratch. You start with a template and you build upon the template as a smart way to balance your game as you're progressing, instead of trying to make everything from scratch on the fly. I did that for Defeat the Darkness, actually, mainly because there's a copy and paste function for the spells, and also because since using a controller, you have to manually input everything, and instead of spell, damage, how much damage it, you just copy copy Ember a bunch of times, and have Ember and then Emberist, and then freeze, freezer, freezist, so on and so forth. And that's how I keep the MP expenditure and the damage kind of consistent as you level.
Fair enough. You should really, if you ever go back to making things with it, you should at least get one of those USB keyboards for the PS2. It makes deving so much faster. So much faster.
Oh boy.
At least I know you can use it on RPG Maker 2. I actually don't know if you can use it for the original, now that I'm thinking about it.
You cannot.
Oh no.
You can use the PlayStation mouse, which is for their Anime Maker, the paint style program, but if you want to use a keyboard, there was a guy a couple years ago on YouTube that made a custom keyboard that if you press L, it would manually do all of the inputs to move the cursor to L and press L.
Oh, Jesus. Wow.
And so then it had to remember the cursor's position, so if you press something else, it would move from L to N or whatever, and then do that.
That's awful.
That's super ghetto, man. Wow.
I love it. I love it so much. Because when it's like those guys that make the tech demos for the Commodore 64 or whatever, how did he get 3D graphics into a Commodore? It's just, it's the fun of discovering how in the hell you can do it.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, boy.
And that's why, half the episodes of Defeat the Darkness look better than the average RPG Maker game on PC, is because I push it to its limits. And it's not that its limits are greater than any other RPG Maker. It's quite restricted, but because I only have, 3 options, I can go, well, I can use this, and then I can use a little bit of this. And instead of, being overwhelmed at the giant menus and going, I don't know what to do.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Yeah, a lot of people are, overwhelmed by options sometimes. I can understand that.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's one of the problems I've got with MV and Yanfly in general. I love him, but at the same time, there's so many plugins and so many things out there when I'm like looking to like just start a project or even just play around with something. I'm just kind of like, what plugins do I even want to? I know you're not like supposed to look at that, but I still like to build like the system too.
I know,
or at least
right?
have an idea of what I want to do with the system while I'm building everything else. And I look at the list, I'm just like, I don't even know where to start. This is why I use RMX.
Yeah, man, it's like so weird. You have something for long enough, and then you're like, after a while, you're like, I don't think I can cut this from my project, and then it just gets so big. You're like, I'll drop this. Like, fuck.
Yeah, it's kind of like cleaning your room. You just don't know where the hell to start.
Yeah. I mean, I usually start with the clothes on the floor, but that's just me.
Yeah, Cody. I didn't know your room was like a fucking pigsty. Jeez.
Alright, so Yanfly also had a new engine plugin. It's called Improved Battlebacks, and I think this basically modernizes RPG Maker. So with the Battlebacks, you can have them scroll, so you can simulate an airship, which just have like a kind of cloud or sky thing in the background scrolling by. You also can change the brightness of a background so it can dim and then fade back in. And you can also change the background for a special attack. So you can actually tie backgrounds to skills. So if someone takes you to the dark dimension to do dark damage, then you can activate the skill, change the background, do the damage, then revert it to what it previously was.
Holy shit, now I can have that train battle I always wanted.
Do you get to suplex the train? Because that's important.
No! Fucking goddamn it. No. I love the situation. No. My ideal situation in an RPG, which never happens, is like the entire party's on top of a train and then you're having a battle on the train or something like that. Like, that's my favorite thing, which never happens in any RPGs ever for some reason.
It does happen in the action RPG, The Bouncer, which is terrible.
God damn it. It only happens like once or twice in games. It's not done enough.
That's true.
Fuck.
I'm wondering, though, how many people are going to use this plugin to make, like, the Earthbound style, really trippy, like, animated backgrounds for things.
I don't know if it did that. I saw the scroll, the fade, the change, but if you could make, like, GIF backgrounds, or if you made a really long one, like, that just scrolled down, but it was just a bunch of different weird shit, that would work.
Okay.
You have, like, a 1200 by 10,000 image that just scrolls down.
Hell yeah.
Scrolls diagonally.
Oh, no.
Diagonal scrolling, how horrible.
Give somebody a headache.
Oh, God.
Oh, speaking of fighting on trains, you're almost there, Robin. We're going to do a special segment now called Last Time on Final Fantasy Legend. Goku, Vegeta, Frieza, and Elmer, all fighting to save the world. But the long and short is we all played Final Fantasy Legend for Game Boy. Basically, as kind of a baseline for us to discuss quest design in the last podcast, but we all liked the game enough that we kept playing it. So finally, after, I'm gonna say, pre-millennium, probably, I finally beat Suzaku, the boss of the fourth world. And so I'm climbing up the tower, I reached the top, and I ended up warping back down. But between the fourth and the fifth, they really start to emphasize just how difficult the climb is, because not only are the enemies really hard, and a lot of them have instant death, you'll find out that D-beam means death beam, because you'll get hit and you die. It's fucking death beam, it sucks. There's also there's also many spots where you find like secret libraries and diary entries and like all these people who failed to finish climbing the tower. So as you hit the longest and hardest section of the game, you also find traces of people who also were up there and just got fucked. It's like wizardry in a way, because it's so masochistic, but the gameplay helps reinforce the narrative, I guess.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think I've gotten any diary entries or anything like that yet, because I think I just finally beat the World 4, and then I just saved it at that point because I was done with work, and I haven't played it since then. Probably playing it tomorrow though, and I'll continue on my climb and see if I can't find some of these. 'Cause the stuff like that is cool, but it also kind of like makes you stop and wonder, like, if other people have made it that far, does that mean that like Byakko and Genbu and all the rest of them have been killed like multiple times over the course of this constant journey? Are they just as immortal as Suzaku? or are you the first one who's ever like manned up enough to like actually kick him in the teeth?
You know, because of all the different worlds that are there, you know, I think the tower's been around for generations, and so there are people that are born on different parts of the tower. So, like, if you saw between worlds 1 and 2, there's, like, the Paradise world. Like, literally, it's just, like, a tropical hangout, and everyone there is just kind of cool. Mm-hmm. And then they opened the door and saw a bunch of angry monsters out to kill them. Went, you know what, we're just going to stay in here. You know?
That's true.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a little weird that Paradise is just on the second floor.
Yeah.
Yeah, fucking people living in a ruined city in world on the 4th floor. Like, you can just go down, hang out in the city or in the Paradise for a while.
No, but I mean, like, the start of the game was like, you go up the tower, search for Paradise. Well, Paradise is on the second floor, fucker. What now?
But is it truly Paradise, Robin?
I like to imagine that everyone who came in before you, like, they never returned. Well, they just really like this place. They just really like staying in this one room. And that's it.
God.
Everyone who tried to climb the tower before just stopped in that room. Fuck climbing the rest of this tower.
Oh, did you guys find the room with the drain between 3 and 4?
Yeah, I did.
See, I didn't find like the desert one first. I found like the top one first. So then I just went to the whirlpool and somebody just threw some trash in it or whatever, and then I like popped it through, and then everybody had water, and then I talked to everybody, and they're like, yeah, water, and then I left, and then I imagine if I go back or on the retrek through the tower, that's when they start to bitch about it. But
yeah, I could have remembered it wrong. They might have just be celebrating it because they're all octopus people.
That's true. They're all octopus. What is this game's fascination with octopus people? That's what I want to know.
Well, the sprites you have are dragon, goblin, gargoyle, rhinoceros, skeleton, and squid. So if you want something that isn't going to tear your head off, it's a squid.
I guess that's a fair point.
I don't know, man. Squids are, like, really terrifying, especially those clams. Like, fuck those. Fuck those clams. I hate those. Like, oh shit, a Medusa. No, it's super easy to kill. Oh no, it's a woodman. Ah, fucking easy to kill. Oh fuck, it's a shark. Super easy to kill. Clam, you're dead.
Man, I don't have any problem with the clams.
Says the guy who shoots lightning out of his ass.
Yeah, I was gonna say, like, right now, I'm starting to get to the point now where, like, all of my stats are capped on my mutants, except for, like, defense and hit points, so I'm imagining here soon I'm gonna actually, like, start to struggle a little, but so far they've just been, like, annihilating everything that comes up to them.
After World 4, you start to get some badass weapons that human stats would be better for, but you also get flare, so it kind of balances out. The big crux about this point in the world is, if you haven't already noticed, spells don't just insta-kill monsters. You have to devote a couple attacks to them.
Yep. Which is stupid.
God.
Oh, you shoot lightning from your dick and you're saying using weapons is stupid? Fuck you.
Yeah. Oh man, so back to what I was saying originally. So Robin, you fight Suzaku on the top of a train. Well, a subway train anyway.
Oh, really?
Yes.
Wow.
It's not moving, though.
I didn't... Oh. Fuck you! Well, whatever.
Yeah. So,
anyway.
So, Red Mage, how did you handle Suzaku?
He wasn't too bad. The mutant's, like, natural resistance to blind made that a lot easier than it probably should have been. I did still have, like, a blind cure eye drops, or I think what it was, with me. I used one the entire fight, and I just sold the other two once I was done. He did give me more trouble than the others did. When we were talking about it last time, I like completely even forgot I had fought Seiryu. Like, That's like how little his fight impacted me at all. Like, he was dead in 2 turns. So, no, Suzaku actually, like, put up kind of a fight, but he still just got wrecked. The fact that the mutants can use the rod, which at 99 mana heals for about, like, 500. Yeah, I don't die. No one has died ever on my team. But like I said, I'm at the point now where most of my stats are capped, so I'm going to start probably getting to points where I'm like, this is stupid, I wish I had a human so I could just spend this 800,000 gold and leveling him up.
I think we gotta explain that, like, what our teams are, because, like, Red Mage is using 4 mutants, right? And
Yep.
Cody's using a balanced team of 2 humans, a mutant, and a monster.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and I have the misfortune of using 4 humans.
You did it to yourself, man.
Yeah, well, the idea was appealing at the time to have 4-party murder hobo team.
God damn it.
Jeez.
We've been talking about this for like 10 minutes.
Yeah, we're good.
Yeah. We'll see you next time on the Final Fantasy Legend. Our actual theme today is story structure. Not all video games need a story, but RPGs are the exception that almost always require one, even if it's a basic go down through the dungeon and grab the thing kind of story. As a role-playing game, you have a character, you are assuming the role of somebody going on a journey, an adventure. The princess, it can be as complicated as kill your father and destroy the second Death Star while not falling in love with your twin sister. Does that sound familiar?
Yeah,
Okay.
just a little bit.
No,
Just a little
no
bit.
idea at all.
We're gonna start at the beginning, because I think that would be the best place. RPGs originally started kind of as dungeon crawlers. You have, like, Wizardry, Ultima, Dragon Quest, Final Fantasy, where you had a largely generic party that was going through a dungeon. And Etrian Odyssey carries in that same vein of you have these people, you make up the character story in your head, but as far as your quest, you're usually going from one fantastic place to the next, and then you just imagine what your characters are going through as they're going, to Desert World, the Forest World, the Airship World. As we enter the Super Nintendo and PlayStation era, things started becoming more character-driven. The stories became more linear because the characters were set people, but generally they were more rewarding as developers found room for text in their games. And then you have the modern day where the quality's kind of all over the place and everyone has a different idea of how to properly tell a story.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was a pretty good way of summing that all up. So yeah, I agree.
Thank you. Now, where would y'all like to start?
In the
I
beginning.
mean, do you want to start with good stories or want to start with bad stories?
I think if we started with bad stories, we'll be stuck there for hours.
Yeah. I'm going to start with Final Fantasy Legend really quick, because you have your main character, you have your 3 flunkies that you hire at the guild, and then in the true theme park fashion, you start in kind of a generic world, then you climb the tower and you find little pocket dimensions, as it were, but then you go to Island World, and then Cloud World, and then ruined dystopian cyberpunk world. The importance there isn't in what you're doing, it's what you believe you're doing with your characters, because all the game hands you is, here's a tower, how do I climb the tower? You get spheres. How do I get spheres? You kill fiends. Okay, bing, bang, boom, game over. But that's not how people experience the game, because they let their imagination tell a lot of the story.
Yeah, and it's kind of the same idea like with kind of like with silent movies and that kind of thing too. There's not so much there, so your mind has to kind of fill in the blanks. It's also kind of the same reason for, like, in horror stuff, why the things that aren't ever, like, explicitly shown are much more terrifying than things that are, because whatever your mind can make up is usually a lot more horrifying than whatever they can put on a screen. So,
Oh my god.
so that's kind of like the one main thing to take away from that.
Mm-hmm. In case you all couldn't tell, that is the safe way to tell a story, is if you don't know what to do, don't do anything, your player's imagination will probably fill it in themselves. And for an example of that, we should probably go to bad story structure now. Because we've all played, the talk to the king, kill the dragon, save the princess kind of stories. I liked Final Fantasy Tactics. I still do. It's my favorite game of all time. Its story structure is great. You are of noble birth, but you're like a half-brother, like the second marriage kind of thing. You go around exposing corruption in the church, in your own brother's government, blah, blah, blah. And it's really deep and interesting until Chapter 4. Now, this took me about 15 years to figure out, so I'm not too mad. But if you just plow through Chapter 4, you realize how bad the story is set up. Because up to Chapter 3, like, you kill Wheatgraph, you start learning about the church and what you need to do with the Holy Stones and all this stuff. So you're on your way to kill Jesus. But the way you kill Jesus is the current big bads kidnap your sister, and they keep taking her to these different locations where they're trying to uncover the secrets of the Holy Stones to open the portal to become Jesus or to revive Jesus or what have you. So literally, the end of the game, the entire 4th chapter is Ramza going, "Where's my sister? Kill me and I'll tell you." You kill them and they go, "Lol, JK," and they teleport away. Like,
Yeah.
Because most people are grinding at that point, they're unlocking classes, they're experimenting, they're having fun, so they don't realize it because they just need to be reminded of what the hell they're doing to continue the main story. But if you're like me on your 35th playthrough, and you're just plowing through the game, then it becomes really obvious how hard it tanks.
Wait, now that you mention it, yeah, it is kind of weird that they just take Ramza's sister through all these places and not do anything with her, right? Like, I don't even remember her being taken, actually.
That was kind of like...
Taken?
Yeah, she's like the host of Jesus.
Yes.
She's Jesus.
Jesus.
Like,
Jesus.
now I'm just like thinking of Ramza picking up a telephone and be like, "I have many skills," and like he's doing the Taken thing, like, "I'm a man of many skills, and I will find you, and when I find you, I will kill you," or something like that.
I will kill you,
Yeah.
and then you'll teleport away, and then I'll find you again because you're going to tell me exactly where you're going for some reason.
I always like to believe that, like, Ramza was somehow, like, needed for whatever was going on, but of course he wasn't. They were just trying to, like, really get him to come along, but there's not really any reason at all for him to be there.
He was kind of needed because, like, he knew the secrets of the church that history doesn't know about or whatever,
Well,
or some bullshit like that.
the reason they needed Ramza is because Ramza had a couple of the Holy Stones, and he also had the Germanic scriptures, which contained the incantation to open the portal to where the ritual had to be performed to revive Jesus or whatever, Ultima. So they needed his stones, they needed the scriptures, and so what happens is, like, he hands over the scriptures, so then they just keep goading him along until he finally ends up at the monastery. "Oh, look, Ramza, you have the stones with you. How convenient. I'm going to read this totally innocuous passage from this book and send us all to hell."
Oh, is that what happens? Oh, jeez. I kind of, like, forgot. All I just remember is this big ghost boat.
Yeah, that's the final battleground.
Yeah. All I remember is ghost boat and she Jesus right there. I killed her with math. That's what matters.
Arithmencers. But no, I mean, as far as, like, and so this is one thing that I really liked about Final Fantasy Tactics, though, too. If you take that away a little bit and just take a step back, you meet Mustadio, or Mustadio, or however the fuck you want to pronounce his name.
Mustard.
who's a machinist from, the city called Gaug, which is basically just on top of all this junk, basically, from yesteryear. And the final battle on the ghost boat was basically a crashed airship. So, I mean, there's all this side stuff that we never really talk about in Final Fantasy Tactics. Because, like, these missions you can send
because
your
there's
additionals out.
spoilers, man.
Well, no,
Spoilers.
the side stuff really isn't. It's just there's so much, like, lore and world building and all this stuff that happens in this game. That's, like, my favorite part. It's just running and doing and getting all this extra stuff. Like, has anybody, like, read the Germanic scriptures? Like, have you guys, like, sat and read the whole thing?
It's a hard read.
Oh, no, it is. But, no, I read all of that. I read all the stuff that's in, like, the Brave thing, like, all the character profiles, all the event profiles, because there's so much to it you know, never really gets touched on in the main game, but that just kind of surrounds exactly what's going on. So that's my favorite part. I mean, it's not really story structure so much as it is, you know, world building, but it's still really interesting to have on there.
All right, I'll tell you my experience. I took a look at it. I tried to read it, and then like a little bit through, like 10% through, I was like, wait, who the fuck was this character again? Did I kill this character already? Did I not kill this character already? Did he teleport when I killed him? Nah, I don't know. Fuck, I don't remember at all.
I only read it once, like, during my first playthrough, so I couldn't tell you what the hell was in it. But I do agree with you, Red Mage, and I think Dark Souls picked this up really quick because they don't shove the lore in your face, but it's there if you look for it, and it helps add context to later scenes.
Yep.
Also, if you look at the Brave story and all the little profiles and stuff, there are characters in the Brave story that you'll never see in the game unless you read the Brave story.
Yeah, and one of the other cool things about it, too, is I forget exactly where it is, but it's before you fight Elmdor. If you check his entry, it says that he was killed in battle by a stray arrow. Like, and then you go to his place, and then he's there, and you're like, you're not dead. Why aren't you dead?
Yeah, that's another thing that bothered me. The Germanic scriptures, like, outright lie. So, yeah. That kind of threw me off, too. So, it's either, I don't remember the person, I killed him, I killed him and they teleported away, or it lied.
That's the point of it, though, because the story is framed as Olan going back through the history books. Like, the end of the game, technically, is Olan being burned at the stake for figuring all this shit out.
Wait, Olan was the one getting killed?
No. Like, Olan is the narrator, like, at the beginning of the story and at the end.
Yeah, the old guy who's reading the books.
Yeah.
Yeah, and basically, like, when you're reading the Brave story and it says Elmdor was killed by a stray arrow, that's how history remembered it, because no one wanted anyone to know that Elmdor was powered by a holy stone and was a fucking vampire.
Right. Yeah, just there's all the stuff in there. Like, everybody that you kill and you go in and you read their things, I had just like these really innocuous, really just almost kind of lame deaths. And that you'll notice too, going through all of that, Ramza is not mentioned once. Because the actual Brave stuff is like what the history books say. So it's very interesting to see it, because Delaida's the hero of the history books. Mm-hmm. You're nobody. You're somebody that Delaida knew. That's pretty much Ramza's entire role in history, but they wrote you completely out of it.
Yeah.
Oh, they didn't like write something like, oh, this is Ramza Beloob. Who the fuck is this guy? Fuck him. He's fucking bullshit and stuff. Fucking using math to kill shit. Fuck him.
And Adam had me watch a movie last year called Dragon Sword, and it's about like Roman centurions meeting the Chinese army, and they like beat up other Chinese armies or something. And that entire movie is based off like one piece of text in Chinese history where they encountered people who look very Roman, were using Roman equipment, weapons, and tactics, but were never explicitly mentioned as Romans. So it's just up to the reader to infer that the Chinese at some point met a piece of the Roman army. And it's just really interesting to think about.
Yeah, I can just imagine the Chinese advisors to be like, they look like Romans. They act like Romans. They speak like Romans. Maybe they're Mongolian.
No, they've never met, because they're an entire continent away, Robin. The chances of a Roman legion getting all the way to... So like, Rams...
Like, they're probably Mongolian.
So Rams is kind of like that Roman legion. Like, you can't know for sure until you have, like, your Olan digging through to verify everything.
But, yeah, and I mean, coming back to story structure, it's a very interesting story. In that you're the protagonist, but you're not the hero that everybody knows. Yeah. And you're going to see like the real story, but it's just one of those things where you take a step back and realize this is not how everyone remembers what happened. You're the only one that knows what happened. Pretty much is just a very interesting, just like final story thing to kind of like stop and think about.
Yeah.
Right. So remember, everyone, the actual thing that happened in history is way cooler than what's written in history books. Because history books outright lie and tell you lame deaths of people.
That's a good way of putting it, Red Mage. And something I like about FFT, if you couldn't tell by my love of the Final Fantasy Legends series, is I like to make my own original Snowflake characters and put them in the story.
Oh yeah.
FFT does the Rogue One thing where it doesn't matter who helps Ramza because you're all dead or disappear, eventually. So I can have, people with my name in the game doing whatever the hell they want, and it doesn't affect the plot at all, because it's really just Ramza and maybe Mustadio, maybe Agrias, maybe Orlandu saying some things to keep things moving forward.
Right. I mean, you can have that, you can have yourself in, you can have a squad of 4 teleporting, blade-catching, immune-to-magic ninjas, if you're me. That was my team, the first time I played. They were all the same. They just had maximum brave, 0 faith, so they're immune to all magic, they blade grasped everything that came in, they all had teleport, and they were all ninjas. That was my team.
Yeah,
it was wonderful, and also terrible.
All my guys used math, and it was great because we all used holy, and we all wore holy absorbing gear. So the only thing we had to worry about was like enemies that had holy absorb on them. And for those we had flare.
Nice.
We don't use math for flare, we just straight up use flare on them. Because fuck them.
Wait, so Red Mage, you have a bunch of atheists who teleport behind people. That's a great team.
Yeah. Nothing personnel, kids. That was my entire team.
Hey, come on, man. Mathematicians are atheists too, I guess.
Well, see, but your faith has to be really high for your magic to be effective. So they are very religious mathematicians.
Oh, right. I didn't really pay attention too much to that, so whatever.
Yeah, there's so much like optimization and just little systems in that game, but that's a conversation for another time.
Yeah.
As far as like the true way the story was probably meant to be played was how my friend played it, who basically soloed the entire game with Ramza on Boko. Like he kept Boko, kept Ramza.
Wow, he kept Boko?
Yeah.
Wow, what a masochist.
And he just at the start of every match he would ride Boko, and he was just like a dual-wielding knight, and he would just destroy everyone, because he had Excalibur and Save the Queen, so he had like every buff at the start of every battle, and would just kill everybody by himself.
That's awesome.
That's cool, too. Can we agree that it would be much cooler, like, for example, we read in the book, like, Napoleon Bonaparte died from a stray arrow shot. Isn't it much cooler? It was like, Napoleon Bonaparte was actually a fucking demon, and he was slain by a guy on a horse with 2 fucking swords.
I mean, that would be pretty excellent to read. I mean, that's a lot of like Japanese stuff, though. There's all kinds of stuff about Oda Nobunaga being like some kind of like demon pact stuff going on. So Japanese know what's up. That's all I'm saying with their misguided
like
history.
Half and half about Nobunaga, though. It's like half of Japan is like, Nobunaga's like had a demon pact and was like fucking evil to shit, and then the other half was like, Nobunaga had demon powers, but he's totally a badass and fucking was hero of Japan and stuff, man.
So, but everybody agrees they had demon powers. So that's so that at the end of the day,
like
for those listening out there, Oda Nobunaga had a demon.
Yeah. Consumed by demon powers, or he used demon powers and subjugated the demon powers, I guess, making him a superhero badass, I guess. Also guns, so yeah.
Yeah.
So that's that.
So all right, let's move on from Final Fantasy Tactics.
Yeah, let's move on.
We can go on for like an entire cast on that.
Yeah, we probably
on Final Fantasy Tactics, yeah.
Just so I don't forget, someone pointed out that we infamously forgot to mention Bravely Default in quest design last time. I feel that Bravely Default, it has a good balance of what made the old games great. You know, you have like these characters that interact with each other and they grow. and that's really cool. You also have
Yeah, that sounds nice, Cody. What could possibly be wrong with Bravely Default?
Well, I'm getting there. Hold on. Story time.
Oh,
Sit by the fire.
all right,
Toast a
all
marshmallow.
right, all right.
So you have that. You go from one fantastic place to the next. You do elemental stuff, and it is crystals too. It's elemental crystal stuff that you do, and you have like a deeper plot for the eventual like mid-season twist, because every good anime has to totally screw with its formula midway through the season. But unlike a good anime, they decided to go with the Haruhi Endless 8 sort of thing. So the first 4 chapters are standard adventure fare. You go through the big world and do the crystal thing. But chapters 5 through 8 are like the Endless 8 in Haruhi, because you're doing the same thing over and over and over again with a little bit of nuance just to keep it interesting.
Oh, can you explain that to people who don't know what happens in Endless
Well, that's
8?
like a major like plot spoiler, though. I don't know if it's been out
Oh,
long enough,
right.
though.
You play the game, the first 4 chapters are playing the game, and then the next 4 chapters are playing the game 4 more times.
Yeah.
So it's like what? Fire dungeon, water dungeon, wind dungeon, earth dungeon. And that's the first 4 chapters, and that's fine. Are you saying that the next 4 chapters are the fire dungeon, water dungeon, like that again?
16 dungeons.
In the same order?
Yes.
Wow.
It's a little bit
That
like
sounds-
fast-forwarded, because in the first couple, you'll fight one guy here, you'll fight 2 guys here, you'll fight 1 guy here. Eventually, you'll just fight all fucking 4 or 5 of them in one battle, and then you just move to the next area.
Red Mage,
So-
fast-forwarded shit is still shit.
It's true.
That sounds horrible, man. I haven't played Bravely Default because I heard the gameplay is good, but I didn't know the story was that bad. It got that bad.
Well, I mean, if you just get the bad ending and just leave it there, it's like a standard Final Fantasy game.
Who's
and you call it a
happy
day.
with a bad ending? Does
But
it
you
say
don't know
it's
it's
a bad ending?
You don't know it's a bad ending, though. That's the thing. It's just kind of an unfulfilling ending. Is all it is.
So it's ambiguously bad ending.
Yeah.
Basically, the bad ending is you quit. And I don't mean you, the player. I mean the characters quit. You're just like, fuck this shit, I'm out.
Yep. It's like, we'll just live our lives and call it a day.
Wow, that's garbage, man. I don't know what to say about that.
Yeah.
Yep. I mean, I enjoyed the game still enough that I got Bravely Second for Christmas, and now that I'm done playing Dragon Ball Fusions, I'll probably pick that up and start playing that. Speaking of a bad story, though, Dragon Ball Fusion.
What
I'm
were
not
you
gonna get into that.
expecting from Dragon Ball?
No, I know. The gameplay in that game is top notch, though. That's all that matters.
Yeah, it's more action than story.
Speaking of bad stuff, all right, I've been chomping at the bit for months now to talk about Fire Emblem Sacred Stones, so I'm doing it right now. All right, this is gonna be short and sweet because it's not really. There's not a lot in here that pisses me off, but it's pretty much just everything, and here's why. You start the game playing as Erika or Irika, I forget exactly how to pronounce the name. She's the princess. You know, bad guys attack
or something. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, bad guys attack. You flee with the Super Knight character.
Seth.
I don't remember his name. Oh, it is Seth.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. So then you go through and you take refuge at a neighboring kingdom, and everything is okay, and you're starting to kind of put stuff together. You know your brother's on the front lines. He might be dead, so you're like, I'm going to go save him. So you try to go to where you think he's being captured. However, it turns out he's escaped in the meantime. So you get captured because you're an idiot and went in after him, not trusting that your brother is going to fucking Gary Stew his way out of this impossible escape, which he does. And then he comes back. Not only that, he then comes back to rescue you. While you're in this, and you all miraculously get out, and everybody retreats, and everybody's fine. At this point, you have the ability to go and follow Erika's path, or you can follow the brother and Ephraim's path. Well, I'm like, all right, I started with Erika. I might as well finish with Erika. So let's go ahead and do it.
Erika's is the easier path, I think.
Probably. I don't know. But I went ahead and I I went ahead and I started hers, and I went through. In the meantime, Ephraim, your brother's kind of like, well, I'm going to go just down to the front lines and keep them busy so that you can go and gather allies and get all these armies mobilized from these other countries, from our friends, so we can go and we can beat them and we can take back our home. And you're like, yeah, that sounds good. So you go, you meet with people, and you make allies, and you get a bunch of people all on your side, and you're like, all right, we're ready. And then you meet up with Ephraim, it's like, oh, by the way, I did it already by myself. And you're like,
I don't remember that part at all.
no, that's exactly what happens. And as soon as that happened, I was like, are you fucking kidding me? The entire point of Erica's path is pointless. Absolutely pointless, because Ephraim he's the most Gary Stu character in Fire Emblem. It is absolutely ridiculous. I beat the game on her route, and then I quit playing after that. I'm not going to do his fucking route. Fuck that shit, alright?
Alright.
The fact that they give you all this pressure, because they make it seem like you're the key, because Ephraim's just going to keep them busy, you're going to be the one that's actually doing all of the work so that you can win, and it makes so much sense, and then they cut to the end of it, and Ephraim's just like, yeah, I did it while you were, off riding around. But thanks for the effort. Good hustle.
Okay. Okay.
And then you come together and you beat the final boss, which he was a joke. I don't even remember who I used, but I basically just soloed him with one guy. Sacred Stones is a mess. Okay, the gameplay is pretty fun, but that right there is terrible story. Okay, you never ever want to make the player feel that way of everything they just did was pointless unless there's a point to it. Like, the bad guy tricked you into doing it, so now you want to get revenge on him. The game's actually starting. Not you're 90% of the way through the game and you're ready for the big final battle, but then it doesn't happen because your dick-ass brother already took all the glory for himself. Fuck, man.
That's okay.
I'm so pissed. I'm pissed.
RM, are you done with that part? Because
Yeah,
I have something.
Yeah, I'm done ranting on that. I'm done with Sacred Stones forever.
Okay.
Forever.
Okay. now it's my turn to reveal my secret, for I too have played Sacred Stones. If you played Ephraim's path, because you said you didn't, but I did, for a little while, it makes a lot more sense what he does. Because what you said about Erica's path, I don't know, I don't remember it at all like that, but
no, that's exactly what happens. But okay, right. Continue, Ephraim.
Fine. So if you follow Ephraim's path and your entire army except for Erica and I guess some other guy, they do the recruiting thing, and then you go follow Ephraim's path with your whole army. You're out there doing it. You're out there doing everything. Fucking going through the countryside, murdering all the armies, I guess.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Why did Erica... She didn't even need to exist. She could have just been a prologue chapter into the Ephraim game, and I would be much more okay with that. But the fact that they let you play as Erica, and then once you do all that you're supposed to do, it wasn't worth jack shit because your brother already did it. Christ, I'm mad again.
Sounds like you should have done the Ephraim path, because that's
probably. If that's the canon path, then okay. That makes more sense. But
okay. Here's something then. I consider the Ephraim path the canon path because there's one guy you can't get if you do the Erica path.
Yeah.
He only shows up when you play as Ephraim. So yeah, that's probably the canon path for me.
Yeah, I guess so, man. But when that happened, it was the worst. It was just the worst. I don't even remember, the big bad at all. I don't even know who it is.
The big bad was some guy who was I want to collect all the sacred stones so I can become dragon. He became dragon. And then you beat him because you also had your own dragon.
Oh, yeah, okay. That's right.
Yeah. You had your own dragon, but it was harder for her because she was only a young dragon.
I don't think I used her at all, but yeah.
Yeah, I didn't like using her either because, her dragon stone was, limited.
Yeah, this was one of the first times, I think. Well, actually, I have no idea. I don't play a lot of Fire Emblem, so I don't know how often the dragons are in the game.
Yeah. Your dragon has, these rocks, I guess, Dragon Balls or whatever, and they have, after using it enough, it breaks, like a weapon. It sucks.
Yeah.
Weapon degrading sucks for me. It made me feel bad when I was playing Sacred Stones.
I like it as a mechanic. I really prefer it. It's an interesting way to make the player constantly have to keep their inventory, so you don't just be like, oh, got a new sword, I'm better now.
Yeah.
And that's the end of it, because unless it's something legendary, like, because that was a major point. I don't know if anybody's played Saga Frontier 2.
Nope.
But you've got the one path, which is Will, who's like actually the fun one. And it's because it's kind of set up because it's, in the Final Fantasy Legend verse where your weapons degrade. On the other path, which is like the easy mode, you're a dude with a steel sword, which has infinite durability. So you can just use that sword all the way through the entire game, and it's great. But also kind of boring. But it was a major plot point, too. It's the only steel sword that's, like, ever been made, ever.
They officially ran out of steel in Japan. This is the last sword.
Weapon degrading made me, like, so mad in, like, Fire Emblem. I'm one of those guys where, like, oh, I have this starter sword, and this new sword is much stronger, but I could still use the starter sword until it breaks. It'd be a waste to just throw away the starter sword, So I'd keep using the starter sword. And then eventually it got to the point where, oh, all my guys are one-shotting everything with a starter sword. Why do I even have these stronger swords?
With weapon degradation inventory management, I'm surprised that you got through Final Fantasy Legend as well as you did.
Well, yeah, all you need in Final Fantasy Legend 1 was, like, a lot of money, for weapons and armor and drugs and stats and potions and, just the standard fare, like the inn, the armor, more weapons, drugs again, even more weapons.
Yeah.
Yeah, keep in mind,
the weapons keep breaking.
Yeah, he's got 4 humans, so he's got more inventory than the rest of us do.
Yeah.
Yeah. At least they tried to make it, like, fun, even though because the problem with humans is, like all the good weapons are, like, single target until you get to the very last thing. And all the group weapons, they do not scale very well. They're only as good as, like, how advanced you are when you got them. So the SMG, it's only as good as the second world. When you take it
once
higher,
you get past the second one, it's pretty much pointless at that time.
Yeah, it's no good for anything after the second world. You have to upgrade everything when you get to a new world. And you have to use grenades now.
In World 4, you get miniguns.
And
then nukes, I think. I read that somewhere, you get nukes.
Nukes aren't viable.
You
can't buy more. No. You can't buy more of them, so you can't really...
Yeah, you get one nuke. There's one nuke in the game.
Oh, okay.
You get one nuke, 8 miniguns.
No, you can buy as many miniguns as you want.
Yeah, you can buy a lot of miniguns. I find it weird because miniguns are cheaper than the melee weapons at that point. So either the melee weapons are, like, really strong for that world, or the miniguns are, like, supposed to be weaker or something.
I don't know. My agility users still like using rapiers from the first world, and they still do pretty decent damage. So I don't know. Anyway, all right, we're getting off.
Fuck yeah, right.
Let's segue here a bit. We've clearly come to the consensus that you don't need a whole lot of story, and the writing component doesn't necessarily need to be in an RPG as long as you have a solid, simple story and good world building around it. So, you craft a good experience. And I think where we had our kind of doldrum period of JRPGs between, I'm going to say, 2002 and Bravely Default, is where the Japanese style of writing didn't export very well. And their idea of nuance is nothing. They want you to look at a still life and interpret it yourself, as opposed to, giving people hints and making people think that there's something in there, instead of just going, well, it's right there. Well, you didn't put it in the show at all, you frickin' idiot. So I think that, as far as that goes, Final Fantasy 6 and 7 have the greatest balance of world building, character, and gameplay. And I say that because with FF6, because I've played through that one, you get the characters a little bit at a time, you're given their tragic backstory, and then you integrate them into the party. As far as the gameplay goes, it's not the deepest in the world, it's not the most balanced, but the espers that you attach to the characters are completely integrated into the story, and they make perfect sense for where they are. And the other cool thing is how each character has its own unique ability. So even if you don't care about the gameplay and you know this character's broken or whatever, you can still find the character's personality through their abilities. Final Fantasy VII had materia, but it kind of has the Bioshock Infinite problem of why isn't everybody using materia if it's so damn cheap?
Right.
But otherwise, you know, deeper characters, better world building, better story.
I'm not gonna like downplay 7 at all, but it kind of like I don't know if you've played it multiple times as I have. I had like a fucking maxed out timer on a save back when I was a wee lad. The problem with 7, because overall yes, great story, great characters, good world building, everything is solid on it. But there comes a point when you're playing it for like the 4th or 5th time, and you're going through it, and you're basically like, I'm just playing hide and seek with Sephiroth. That's the entire game. I'm hiding over here, and you're like, are you here? And it's like, nope, I'm hiding over here. Are you here? Nope, I'm hiding over. And that's most of the game. Up until he kills Aeris, and then after that it kind of like opens up a little bit. And even then, you know where he's at in the crater. You just got to go and find him. I mean, that's my only beef with it is when you like really distill down the plot. It's you're playing tag,
yeah,
and you're it. But they do really good ways of like disguising that and hiding that fact, and that's the driving force behind it. Because if you are playing it for the first time, you want to know what Cloud's beef is with this guy. Like, I mean, he shows up, he's really cool looking, he's got a giant katana, he's just killing people indiscriminately. Cloud knows or seems to know what's going on. Nobody else really does, and so you're like, I want to know what's going on too. I want to be in the loop. So it worked really well as a driving force as like a player to make you want to keep playing it. But once you know, yeah, you're playing tag. that's the plot. Okay, I said my piece on 7. 6 is a great game, best game. That's all. Best game in the main series, hands down. All right, that's all I'm saying about 6.
All right. As far as 7 goes, I had that thing with Final Fantasy Tactics too. Now, is it bad if it takes you a couple playthroughs to finally catch up to?
Oh no, definitely not. It's all dependent on the first experience, in my opinion. Once you beat a game for the story, after that you're presumably playing it for other parts because you know the story. You don't need to play the game to see the story again.
Yeah. Robin, did you have an opinion, or are you asleep?
For FF7, I have to admit, like, I played through a lot of it, but I technically haven't finished it. I reached the crater where Sephiroth's supposed to be. I assume, like, everyone kills him at the end. So, yeah.
Kinda. I mean, basically, even if you didn't pick up Omnislash, Cloud gets to Omnislash Sephiroth, and that's pretty much the end of it. That's, like, after you beat the boss, that's the final scene.
Alright. Amazing.
Yeah.
There you go.
I think FF7 did more fantastic locations than FF6 did, which is one of the important parts of like the early RPGs, because you have the Gold Saucer, you have the Canyon where Red 13 learns his origins, you have Shinra Core, you have Midgar, which is its own really cool city, you have the reactors inside Midgar. You're always taken to really cool places.
Yeah, so you've got good old Wutai.
Oh yeah.
You guys seem to hate Wutai for some reason. I
love
okay
Wutai.
with it.
I love Wutai.
Like, oh, look at this battle pagoda, and look at this Mount Rushmore or something.
Okay. As a kid, I got freaking... So, I've told the story before. I found Wutai on the first disc because I was super lost and ended up at Wutai before I ended up at the place I was supposed to be.
Yeah.
And in the FF7 manual, because I had a physical copy of FF7, it said, press, I think it was X, or is it circle, to talk to people. And in the manual it says, sometimes talking to people multiple times can reveal secrets. And as a kid, I talked to everybody multiple times. And the only goddamn time it does anything is in Wutai, when you wake up Yuffie's father.
Yep.
It took me...
That's the part that bothered you!
Yes. Because I had to look up a freaking guide. Like, I've talked to everybody. Because I gave up talking to everyone multiple times because in the past 23 hours or whatever, it didn't do anything. And now it finally does something. That's bad conveyance.
It's true.
Well, Cody, it did say sometimes.
Whoever thought that sometimes should occur after an entire day of play should be shot, stabbed, shot again, tarred, fathered, drug out into the street, and shot a final time. Damn.
No, I can agree with that.
I just like Wutai because there's not a lot of story stuff that happens there, but there's still a lot that happens there, right?
Yeah, there's a lot of like weird stuff that like you go up on the mountain and there's the weird dragon thing, and you beat that.
Like,
see, I didn't go to Wutai until like way after I was like supposed to go to Wutai because it's optional because Yuffie's optional.
Yeah.
So by the time I went there, they're like, "Look at this boss," and I'm like, "I'm gonna beat him up," and then I like two-shot him because I was like way over leveled at that point, and I was like, "Oh."
Yeah, I don't. Yeah. The first time I went to Wutai, it's like I didn't even have Yuffie because I didn't understand how to recruit her at the time. She must have stolen like 1 million cash from me by the time I recruited her. And then when I did recruit her, she gave me like 10% of my cash back. By then,
She's such an asshole, and I love it. It bothers me because like Vincent. I mean, okay, we're getting off topic, and then we'll go to Final Fantasy VIII because I think our next stop on this train. But Vincent is like super cool, but he's like absolutely like one of the worst characters, and I hate to admit that. he's just not good.
Worst how?
Like his ability, like his limit break, just his general stat makeup. He's just not as good as a lot of the other characters you get.
Until you upgrade his special gun, because he has that gun that does 1 more damage for every enemy that you finish off.
Yeah, the death penalty? Hell yeah.
Yeah.
In which case, eventually you can start hitting for 9,999, but by the time you get there, everybody else like already is. I love Vincent as a character. He's like one of my favorites, but just in terms of like actual like ability,
Yeah.
I hope you're not saying that Kate Sith is more viable than Vincent, because like fuck you then.
I mean, I love Kate Sith, but he is also completely unviable. Cloud Sid and Yuffie is pretty much my go-to. Yuffie's got a heal, and she's got a cool buff. Sid might be subbed out for Red 13 because he's got the party-wide buffs that are really nice for his limits. So
the only thing I don't like about Vincent is recruiting him, because like that mansion is a pain in the ass to do the puzzles for.
Yeah, it is.
So Vincent's more of a plot character, kind of.
I mean, he's optional. I mean, getting him.
He's a cool guy. That's about it.
Yeah, he sleeps in a coffin. I mean, what's cooler than that? I mean, come on.
he sleeps in a coffin. He shoots guns. He's a cool dude.
Oh man! All right, so this is this really caught my attention in the thread because I've probably played like the first 20-30 minutes of FF8, so I have the average experience. But I have a couple friends who beat it and love the shit out of it. So what I'm seeing both on rpgmg and in our own Skype chat is that Final Fantasy VIII is the country music of RPGs. Either you love it or you hate it. The world is a colorful and comfy clusterfuck. The characters are bland and awful until they're brilliant. The story is crap until it's great. So can one of you please explain to me how there's so much discord between people who actually played the game?
All right.
Okay. Robin, you can go first, and I'll counterpoint because I've got a love-hate relationship with it too, so I can see both sides. So I'll let you go first, and then I'll.
All right. Here's my thinking about it. You said the average is like first 30 minutes or so. If that's the opinion most people have, I'm really sad. It does get good after a while. I guess the part that people stop at is because it feels really generic starting out, but also your main character's really lame at the start. Squall has this Sasuke Uchiha thing going on where he acts all cool because he's not talking to people. I'm too cool for you, or something like that, and he thinks that's cool.
Whatever.
And it's not really conveyed properly at the start. It gets a lot better later on, where it's like not just whatever anymore.
So it's kind of got that FF13 thing where if you get past the first 20 hours, it's really good.
There's a lot of stuff that doesn't help. The first summon you get, it's Ifrit. Oh, you see Ifrit. Or the first summon you get is like Shiva. It's all the summons you know. It's like, it feels really generic. And then all the later stuff is like, wow, you got all these cool spells like Melt, which fucking destroys bosses. And then like all these cool summons you get, like the brothers, they're great. I don't know, man. It gets good after a while.
Okay. Here's where Red Mage flies in with the unpopular opinion. I'm exactly the opposite. I think the game starts out extremely strong and extremely interesting. It's a very different environment than anything you've seen in a Final Fantasy. You're in a school. You have an anti-hero really for the first time. I mean, Cloud's not really an anti-hero. He's just kind of a fucking nothing. He doesn't like not want to do things. He still wants to go ahead and advance the story. Squall, on the other hand, is literally just whatever, as we've said. He doesn't really care all that much. All this pressure keeps getting put on him, and he doesn't want it. He doesn't want to be the guy that everybody looks to. Personally, I think the game starts out very, very strong. The characters that are introduced, they all have their own motivations. They're pretty interesting in their own way. Zell is the best character. If fight me,
No,
do you think otherwise?
no, I can agree with that.
Okay, perfect. But what happens is, and here's my problem with 8. The more you play this game, the less sense it makes. I mean, it starts soon, even, too, because you're in this military garden, raising, like, these elite troops to go and, you know, do things that are, well, far and above what standard soldiers can do. Okay, great. Then, at one point, you come back to your garden, and everybody's, like, freaking out, and things are under attack, and you find out there's this really big yellow guy living in your basement of the garden. And apparently the headmaster like borrowed money from him, I guess, to make the garden, and now he's mad for some reason. Like, it doesn't really make any sense at all, but you do it because that's the plot. And then the further it goes, and then it ignores that and it goes back to the main thing of the sorceress, who's kind of like the big bad, which I'll get to that later. You go through, you meet Irving, who's pretty cool too. He's a sniper. And then there's a point where he's got to assassinate her in this parade, which is
You're
like
all
the big.
Supposed to assassinate her.
Well, yeah. Well, he's supposed to deliver the final shot, though. Like that's like his whole role as the sniper. The problem is, Irving gets nerves. He can't complete the mission. That's pretty cool. I mean, it's not from like the player point of view. It's like, what the fuck are you doing? Just shoot the bitch. But from like a game perspective, that's understandable. This is a pretty big important mission. And he nerves out and he can't do it, so you go down to fight her directly, and then things happen, and my memory's a little hazy here, but
he
basically
does take the shot, and the shot like gets deflected super easily.
Yeah, and I know that you get like impaled with a bunch of icicles because there's the fan rumor that Squall dies here at this point, and the rest is basically his fever dream death throes because the game, the sense of the game just starts going out the window at this point. All of the characters, all of them, with the exception of Renoa, who's like the female lead, apparently grew up together in an orphanage. And also, apparently, the Guardian Forces, or that's the summons, by having them equipped to you, they eat your memories. That's why nobody knows who anybody is. That's why people don't know that they grew up together. Irving is like the exception. He remembers everybody, but doesn't say anything because nobody seems to remember him. So he's like, am I am I being weird here? So, which is funny because it still happens even if you never equip a Guardian Force like the entire game. And then eventually, also during this time, I forgot like Laguna, who's awesome. Squall has like these really weird memories and dreams, and so does everyone else on the team, about Laguna, Kiros, and Ward, who are Galbadian soldiers who are doing like a bunch of other stuff. Never really explained that for a while. Eventually you meet his granddaughter or adopted daughter or something, and she's like, yeah, I'm doing this so you can relive it. And you're like, well, how? And she's just like, haha. And that's not explained. And then eventually, the sorceress, who is the big bad, you find out was actually the matron in the orphanage where you grew up. She's actually a good guy. She was being possessed by a sorceress from space.
Not from space, from the future. Get together, man.
I thought Renoa was the one that gets possessed by the thing from the future.
There's two?
No.
There's a lot.
No. It's from the future. It's straight from the future. The body just happens to be from space.
Okay, whatever. Okay. Yeah. Okay. See, that's what I'm talking about here with this fucking plot. So eventually, you go to space in a ship, which has been done before in Final Fantasy IV, and it didn't really make sense then, but you did it. But they never it wasn't like as big of a deal. They were just like, oh great, you've got the big whale, now you can go to space to fight the big bad. And you're like, cool, I'm going. And that was like all of the explanation. Here, it's like this big thing. You've got to break through Estharian soldiers who are really weird. They never really explain who they are, what they do, or anything about them, but apparently they're advanced enough to have a rocket to go into outer space. So you go up there. By the way, there's a thing that's really cool called the Lunar Cry. At least it sounds cool. All it is monsters are from the moon, and they like stack up on top of each other or something. They form like this big twister, and they move to Earth. Not explained. Doesn't make any sense. And then eventually you go to somewhere where you can fight the sorceress from space in the future, from the past, tomorrows. And her summon is whatever you named like your little lion necklace at the beginning of the game. Also not explained why that's relevant at all. And then you beat her, and then like the ending cutscene, Squall is wandering across like this endless desert for like the entire credit scene, and then like he stops and he looks back, and it's like a 2 foot by 2 foot square. Okay, that's like the end, from what I remember. The game makes no fucking sense at all. At all.
So there's a sweet spot. If you play through FF8 exactly once, you loved it. But if you did anything else, because that's like
if you play to like the end of disc 1, it's pretty okay. After disc 1, it out the window.
That's like some Axe Cop shit. Ha! I am the wizard from the future, but also the wizard from the past. We will defeat you, wizard from the future, who is also the wizard from the past.
I'm sure there's more coherency to it, but when I was, and this is like a recent playthrough, like 2 or 3 years ago, so it's not like I'm, 15, not understanding what's going on. I'm a grown-ass adult playing this game, trying to understand what's going on. And I'm sure it might make some more context sense, but when I was playing it, I was just like lost as to what the hell was going on. Why? I mean, like I said, Laguna, Kira Sword, they're cool. I like them. They're cool guys. No idea why they're relevant. Like I don't understand where all the pieces go and fit together.
Dude, they're showing that that not all the Galbadian soldiers are fucking assholes, yo.
Yeah, some Galbadians are pretty Galgoodian.
But Irving is Galbadian, and he joins your team, and he's a pretty cool guy.
Yeah, but like he's just one guy. It's a lot better with 4 guys, right?
I guess. It was so like I said. I mean, I guess if that's the point, it made sense, but it's so fucking stupid. And I'm sure there's someone out there who's like, Red Mage, you're wrong. Here's what actually happened. Please tell me, because I don't get it.
And leave it in the comments below.
Yeah, for real, because I don't get it.
I just remember a lot of like good moments in it, I guess. So maybe it's just because my memory sucks, and that's why I'm okay with it. It's not bad. In my opinion, like, Red Mage, you're probably just over-analyzing it, and I'm like really too stupid to complain about it otherwise. So yeah.
Maybe, like, if I just took it at face value, maybe, but there's so much that I had to like swallow to really get to it. But I
guess,
like, I'm much more okay with accepting the fact that Tidus is a dream of the faith the whole time, or that in Final Fantasy XII, Bosch has an evil twin brother who did the crime that he was framed for. Like, he legitimately does. Like, I'm more okay with. I hate both of those as like things, but I'm more okay with them than the cluster that is Final Fantasy VIII, because I don't get it. That's I don't understand what I was supposed to like be doing the whole time. Okay, that's enough ranting for me. I ranted twice today. I'm worn out, man.
All right. I had good memories of it. Like, geez, I guess it's because it has a lot of these good moments with it that it made me like not think about the story too hard, I guess.
Yeah, maybe
Like-
I can
like, at
accept
the-
that.
I guess I wasn't playing it as hardcore as you, Red Mage, because like when I was doing the assassinate the sorceress, that's all I was doing, right? Assassinate the sorceress or escape the prison, because like they were just stringing along those kinds of goals, and then it eventually became okay, go to the time castle, kill the time sorceress, she's bad, and like that
Right.
that was the end of the game, right? Yeah, but like on my way there, it was like. It's just these moments of good things happening, or fun things happening, or strong emotions happening.
Yeah, because I think it was supposed to be very character driven. I was just so flabbergasted by the plot that I did not get any of that. Because then it came, like I said, the big reveal that came out where everybody grew up together in the orphanage. I'm sure that was supposed to be like a really powerful moment, but for me, I'm just like, what?
Yeah.
What?
That's what I'm getting from both of you guys. Is like, yes, the plot is all over the place, but even Red Mage, who has all these problems, praises the characters, and I'm assuming their
Yes.
development over the story as well.
Yes. No, characters are good all the way through. I don't really see a point where they fall off. It was just I was so just the plot, man.
Yeah, the characters are good. Even the summons are good. Like Odin. Odin is a cool guy.
Odin is a cool guy.
like just him showing up is like a lot of personality. And him showing up to Cypher was fucking glorious. Okay, you know Odin, like in the games, like after you get him, like it's kind of set that after 2 or 3 battles, he'll show up, he'll do his Zendatsu, whatever it's called, the instant kill thing.
Zentetsuken.
Yeah. It kills the enemy party, and it's super cool. And sometimes, if he feels like it, he'll show up to a boss, show he's a badass, right? Odin's like that. He's cool. And then when you get to Cypher, Odin shows up, and you're like, oh man, you're gonna beat Cypher. He does his Zantetsuken. Odin gets cut in half. And you're like, fuck. Cypher's a lot stronger than I expected. And he's like kind of your rival, I guess.
Yeah.
And it's like, holy shit, Cypher's like a fucking badass.
That's awesome.
Like, I don't know, that's an awesome thing I remember from 8. And it's like, it's those kinds of moments that I remember the best from it and are my favorites.
Yeah, I can respect that. Yeah, the characters were really good. I don't think they were good enough to carry the clusterfuck that was the story.
I'll tell you what, Red Mage, Triple Triad, though, that's great, even though it's not part of the main story.
Well,
Triple
that's
Triad's
true.
amazing.
I can admit to that. It's the best mini
they'll-
game aside from Blitzball.
Yeah, it starts off really easy with the easy to know rules, and then later on in the game they have regional rules, and it's annoying sometimes because regional rules are the only way that they'll let you keep the cards that are awesome.
Mhm.
Yeah, and then some of the regional rules are like really fuck you over super hard. If you're not aware, it's like wow.
Like the random
Again,
rule.
Yeah, the random rule, addition's pretty easy, multiplication's not bad. There's one other one too, aside from the random, that's really fucky. I forget what it's called though.
Chain or something. Chain plus something else made the enemy from 90% losing to they took the entire board.
Yep.
Yeah. Also, Laguna, best president.
Yeah, like I said, Laguna's great. I just don't understand what his point is at all in the story.
His point is he has a fucking machine gun and grenades.
All right.
He's a regular guy. Like you have your main character has a special sword that no one else uses except for the other guy. And then Laguna's great because he's just a regular guy.
Yeah,
with
I
a
mean,
machine gun.
right. Like
and
his
grenades.
character's great. Like his character's great. Like I said, I'm not gonna deny that. I'm just like in the grand scheme of things, that like all of his scenes could have been cut from the game and nothing would have been lost. Like from the overall story.
Yeah.
But they felt so good though.
Well, no, they did, but they weren't like important at all. Because again, Elle or whatever her name was, she's like, I'm making you have these visions, and you're like, why? And she's like, and then she leaves, or is like kidnapped or something. I don't remember.
She was taken for protection by those the army or something.
Yeah, see, right, exactly. Like they don't explain And that's my biggest problem, I think. Just nothing is explained. You're supposed to accept everything that happens, and I can't do that.
All right. Let's round this out with one final question. We can just go around the room. So, Final Fantasy, in its mainline series, has tackled magic crystals at least 4 times. Is magic crystals still a decent starting plot for anyone looking to make an RPG?
Probably. I mean, because magic crystals are like fucking MacGuffins, aren't they? That's all they are.
Yeah, pretty much.
That's all they are. It's either collect all the MacGuffins, or please put all the MacGuffins in all the pedestals, or like some variation of that. It's all over for different kinds of games.
The 4 elemental crystals.
Yeah. See, in my opinion, I mean, if you go with crystals, just because it's been so done by Final Fantasy and other games too, you kind of run the risk of people not taking you seriously right from the outset.
Right.
Just because it's been so done. That doesn't mean that you can't have something similar that's, like just another MacGuffin. It's not recent anymore, but like Mother 3, when that came out, there were the 7 needles. Not really like anything like major or anything, but they served their purpose as far as what they needed to do. You can have something like that, some kind of MacGuffin out there that you have to go and either collect or save or whatnot. Bravely Default, for example, going back to that, utilized crystals in a very different way than had ever been used prior in a Final Fantasy game. Or kind of touching on Final Fantasy V a little bit, all the crystals fucking broke. Like, they all shattered. So they were used as like job system. In Final Fantasy IV, you had the 4 elemental crystals above ground, and then underground there was like another set of 4 crystals, which may have also been the elements. They didn't really touch on that very much, but they were the dark crystals. So I mean, there's a lot of different ways that you can take the crystals and make it different and make it interesting. Just if you call them the crystals or the elemental crystals, you just kind of run the risk of people looking at your game and being like, I'm not playing that. just because it seems like you put no thought into it. Even if you may have, it just comes across that way. So that's something just to keep in mind for devs out there that have elemental crystals. You don't want to make them like, I don't know, elemental dolphins or something instead.
Literally just changing the sprite.
Yeah.
The elemental frogs of legend.
Oh no, not the frogs again.
Not those. Never collecting those.
The elemental margaritas.
Or even if it's just 4 pieces of something else, There's again, I mean, there's a lot of ways to spin it, but just to answer the question again, using crystals is going to make people not take your game seriously. Will I still buy it? Probably. I'm pretty sure I bought a game called The Quest for the 4 Crystals. All right, so there's that. Yeah. You can use MacGuffins because MacGuffins is such a common thing for stories, and it works. It's a working thing. There's a reason why it happens so often in media, where there's a MacGuffin that the hero has to collect or something like that. It's because it works. But it's really weird how JRPGs have this really specific thing where if it's crystals, right? Like, if it has to be crystals, there's something really wrong with it, right? Yeah, which is interesting because Final Fantasy 1 started with
orbs.
It's
only RPGs that has that. It's only RPGs that has the crystal thing going on that has a bad rap.
I think Final Fantasy 2 is like the only one that doesn't have crystals in it in any... Oh no, I guess 6 doesn't either, does it?
It has the Magicite, which are technically crystals.
Yeah, okay. And 7 has the big materia.
FF2 doesn't have crystals, but FF2 also sucks.
I would argue the point because I mean, it's a bad game, but I love it. I can't think of any crystals in like any other type of game, so I can't like support or refute your point.
The Chaos Emeralds.
Oh yeah, okay, fair enough.
There we go.
I guess. But there's so many other valid MacGuffins you can go for. Like, the Needles thing, Super Mario RPG, there's the stars.
Yep.
And then I'm sure for a lot of other games, there's other MacGuffins. Like the Legend of Legaia series, which is like one of my early entries to RPGs, was like you have to go around and make all these trees alive again. That's a MacGuffin, right?
Yeah.
Yep.
You can do the MacGuffin thing a lot of ways. So if you really, really have to do the crystal thing, just be careful with it. You know, everyone's done the crystal thing. Like, everyone and their mom, I guess, by this point.
Yeah, I liked Secret of Mana had its own subversion with the mana seeds. Like, you had to awaken the mana seeds by touching the sword to it.
Yep.
Looking back at it now, the only weird thing about that game, like, you have your standard elements. You have fire, water, earth, air, light, dark. You also have the moon.
Yep.
And then you also have mana. So mana itself is an element for some reason. It's recursion. You're using the power of mana to attack with mana. But just for aspiring devs out there, crystals can work, but you have to put a strong frame around it. Because you look at crime dramas on TV. Now, if you live in America, every night there's a fucking crime drama. There's CSI and its 2 spin-offs. There's NCIS and its 2 spin-offs. I think Law and Order might still be in reruns.
Yep.
They're all telling the same damn story every goddamn night. But they always put a different spin on it. They put their own special spin on it, and they have strong characters that interact with each other, and that character interaction, much like an FF8, distracts you from the clusterfuck of a plot.
It just also helps if your plot isn't a clusterfuck.
Yeah.
I don't care, personally, and this is me, though, and, you know, everybody's different. I don't care if your plot is, I'm the king, go save my princess from the dragon. If that's your plot, cool. I'm fine with it, as long as your characters can carry that, and your characters are interesting. But if Dragon Quest did it funny, for example, because that was like the start of the quest, and then you bring her back, and he's like, oh, by the way, there's more that you got to do now. That subversion, even as early back as that, of a very commonly accepted trope. And subverting stuff like that is one of the ways that you can kind of get around that kind of thing. So that's my extra bit into that.
Perfect. All right. I think this about wraps it up. So thank you all for listening to the RPG Maker General podcast of the RPGMGP. This is Cody. We'll see you all next time.
This is Red Mage. See you later.
This is Blue Sky Robin leading 4 humans to murder people for money. Like, what?
Oh, speaking, I've been working on this the whole cast. Please let me say this. Okay, so...
Oh, yeah?
So, I beat Suzaku, and for those of you who don't speak Japanese, he's a phoenix, okay? He's like a big firebird. Okay, so, when I beat him, might you say that there was a phoenix down?
You finally did it!
Yeah.
You must have rehearsed that like for 1 billion years or something.